name's Lucy from Square One Physio. I have Sol with me today and we're going to be taking you through a 30-minute leg workout, Pilates style exercises to get your quads, glutes, hamstrings and calves burning. So we're going to start with Sol lying on her back on the mat. You don't need any equipment for this workout, but there are some optional extras that I'll give you in case you do have anything like a band or a chair at home that you want to incorporate to make this a little bit harder. So what we're going to do is start with Sol lying on her back, feet are flat on the mat. So bend your knees for me, Sol. Perfect. So in this position, the first thing I want you to appreciate is just the position of your pelvis, and we're going to start with some gentle little bit of rocking back and forth just to get you warmed up through those lower tummy muscles and finding out where your neutral pelvis position is. So Sol's just gently rocking back and forth through her pelvis here. What you should feel is a little gap between your back and the floor, increasing as you rock forward, and that gap flattening as you rock back. Good. So from this position, Sol's going to come into her neutral pelvis. Now this is a position where you have a small gap between your lower back and the floor or the mat. Your tailbone should feel heavy. So we're going to start with some bridges, personal favorite of mine and Sol's. All physios seem to love bridges. So Sol's going to press down through her heels, lift her bottom up, tuck her tailbone and peel off the floor, holding at the top for a few seconds. Rolling back down. So in Pilates we tend to start with some articulated bridges, which basically means Sol's going to feel her tummy tuck under, her tailbone lift off the floor first, and then she's rolling through each segment of her vertebrae as she comes up. This is a really nice way to get your lower tummy and glutes activated, but also unwind any stiffness that you might be having through your lumbar spine. Sol's doing a really great job of breathing through here. You probably can't hear that at the moment, but she's doing a really nice, lovely breath out on the way up, breathing in on the way back down. So this is our base level bridge. After a few reps, you should be feeling a little bit of warmth in your glutes and hamstrings. This is essentially the easiest version of a bridge that we can start with. Good. So what we're going to do this time at the top is come into some single leg bridges. So at the top, Sol's going to lift her right leg off the floor, holding for a few moments, and then swapping sides. In this position, and coming into some single leg bridges, what we want to appreciate is that Sol's pelvis stays really nice and flat. So she's staying up here for what we call a marching bridge. What you will start to feel here is a little bit more work on the foot that is planted onto the ground. So this is a really nice entry level to doing some single leg work. A little bit harder on the glutes and hamstrings, which you should be feeling. Key points here, pelvis level. Keep pressing through that bottom heel to keep the back of your leg really nice and active. Good, so we'll go one more each side and then Sol's going to roll down for a little break. Nice. So to have a little break, Sol's just going to rock her knees left and right, keep everything nice and mobile. And we're going to do one more set of the marching bridges whilst we're here. Good. So a couple of optional extras for you at home if you want to make this a little bit trickier. You can decrease your arm support. So option here is to cross your arms across your chest, or if you want to be really challenging your tummy control, you can lift those arms up to the ceiling. So in this position you'll feel a little bit more work through your abs. If this is giving you any grief through your lower back, what I would recommend is go back to the level before and stick there. So you might find that you need a little bit more support through your arms, and that's fine. You should be sort of feeling that you're tucking under at the tailbone throughout the exercise, and that's probably the point where as you fatigue, you'll start to lose that bit of tailbone tuck. Burning a little bit there, Sol? Good. All right, nice, lovely. Rolling back down once you've evened yourself up on both sides. Good. All right. So now we're going to take the bridges into a little bit more of a hamstring workout. So Sol's going to lift up onto 2 feet, and she's going to step her right foot out an inch and then the left foot out an inch and step out one more time and then back in. Good. And then rolling back down. So with this one, as your feet get further away from you, your hamstrings are going to work harder. So little step, little step, little step, little step, and then reversing that back in. Good. And rolling back down. So this is a personal favorite of mine for anyone that's had a hamstring injury in the past. It's a really nice combination of glute activation, but also challenging that hamstring length and hamstring control. Good. Rolling back down. 2 more in you, Sol, do you think? Good. So option here is to essentially walk your feet out a little bit further if you think you can control it, but you need to be able to keep your bottom off the floor. Good. Last one there. Lovely. Okay, we're going to give Sol a break with a little bit of a hamstring stretch here. So grab a hold of behind your right thigh, gently extending your leg up into the sky. So for a nice long hammy stretch, we're going to hold this for 30 seconds. Sol's quite mobile, so you may not be able to get quite as far as her experienced yogi. In this position, I tend to relax my foot, but if you are someone that has quite good mobility through the back of your leg, you might find that you're comfortable doing a little bit of flossing, getting a really nice nerve stretch through the back of your leg by flexing and extending your toes. Not an option for everyone, and that's fine. If you want to stay in a position where your knee's slightly bent and your foot is relaxed, that might be more comfortable for you. Good. And then swapping sides when you're ready. So especially at the moment with everyone working from home, I think hamstring mobility is something that's certainly going to suffer sitting in a chair for long periods. So something that we do need to take care of is both strengthening around the hamstrings, but also working on your mobility as well, and making sure that that doesn't regress too much. Sitting on the chair and maybe sitting on the couch watching some Netflix. Lovely. All right. So from this position, we're going to come in to do a little bit of inner thigh work. So Sol's going to lift both her legs up to tabletop. She's going to glue her heels together so that we can come into a little froggy kick. So pressing out and then gently back in. So this is one that if you've ever done any Pilates reformer work with us before, you're probably familiar with this with your feet in the straps. Requires a little bit of hip control, and you will feel your tummy working quite a bit here. So important to stay really nice and heavy through your pelvis while you do this. So Sol's working on just gently bending and extending her knees without changing the position of her back on the mat. Good. Let's go for 2 more there and then a little break. So like I said, a little bit tummy, also a little bit of inner thigh and quad work here just from keeping your legs up in the sky. Good, and then rolling back down. So we'll do 1 more set of froggies in this position. Good. One thing that's probably harder for you to see on the video is from the top. As Sol bends her knees, she's letting her hips fall out a little bit into what we call external rotation, which is allowing her to control her hips really nicely and involve a little bit of glute control as well. Good. I've lost count as per usual, so I think we'll go for 2 more. Lovely. And then from here, let your legs both pop down onto the floor. Now, option is to have your stabilizing leg in a bent position as we are here. I'm going to ask Sol to straighten out her left leg, good. And we're just going to go for some single leg raises. Nice. Good. So again, in this position, Sol's tummy and pelvis are working quite hard, but we're getting a really nice quad activation through the leg that's moving. If this feels a little bit too tricky for you, option there is to bend your stabilizing leg, which is going to give you a little bit more heaviness through your pelvis, and it will make it easier on your tummy muscles. So whatever feels right. This is a really great exercise for activating the nice long muscles on the front of your thigh, your quadriceps, and good for a little bit of pelvic control as well. Nice. So 2 more and then we'll swap sides. So with Sol with her leg out straight, she's staying really nice and anchored through here. So whether you're choosing the bent knee version or the straight leg version, this should feel really nice and heavy. Working on breathing out as you lower back down, breathing in on the way out. Good. And starting to feel a little bit of a burn through the front of the thigh there. Good. My terrible counting is probably going to have Sol a bit uneven. Good. So we'll go back to the first side and we'll give you an option for some circles. So leg is out straight again, and Sol's going to scoop out to the side, circle back in. Lovely. So depending on how you're feeling with your control, your circle might be a nice little small circle, and that's fine. But we're just looking for really nice smoothness here. So like you're scooping out a bucket of ice cream, getting every last little bit. And again, the challenge here might be for some of you keeping your pelvis nice and steady and then reversing back in the other direction. Good. Still the option to keep the stabilizing leg bent or straight depending on how you're feeling with that. Nice. 1 more, and then we'll even you up on the other side. How are the quads feeling with this, Sol? It's working? Yeah. Good. I find it can be challenging to find quad exercises to do. People tend to get a little bit stuck maybe on some squats, which are a great exercise, which we will get to later. But this is a nice little bit of stability and quad control. Good, and swapping directions when you're ready. Lovely. Nice. And coming back down. So quads will get a nice little break now. I'm going to ask Sol to lie on her left side facing the camera. Good. So from here, Sol's got her arm underneath her head. You can get a pillow or a towel at home, up to you. And we're going to come into a little bit of glute work. So first exercise we're going to be doing is some straight leg hip abduction work. So Sol's lifting her top leg up to the ceiling, slowly back down. Good. Key points here are staying really nice and long through the side of your trunk. So again, that feeling of staying really stable through the pelvis and not trying to compensate with these side muscles. So really nice long lever here. Lovely. So you can get a little bit of extra stability from your top arm there. Good. And then option from here, just have a little mini rest there, is to lift your leg up slightly, take it behind you a little bit, and we're just going to work on some little pulses. So up an inch, down an inch, up an inch, down an inch. Good. Now the longer we ask Sol to leave her leg in the air, the more this glute will burn. Couple more. 2, 1. Lovely. And then resting back down. Good. Now we're going to come into a bent knee position here and try some clams. So lifting your top knee up and then slowly back down. So here, this is a really great glute exercise. However, it's not for everyone. So if you find that this gives you any grief or you've had problems with the side of your hip before, you might not feel like clams are the best exercise for you. in which case you can go back to our straight leg version if that feels a bit better. Whatever is suitable for your level of strength. Good. Key points here are to try and, again, stay steady through the pelvis. So you might find that you have a tendency to sort of rock back towards the other side of the room, but we want to stay really stacked on top of one another. So if we have Sol's bottom hip is directly underneath her top hip, and it should remain there as she moves. So it's not about how high you can lift your leg, but how much you can move with that pelvic control. Good. And slowly back down. All right, so last exercise on the side is a little bit of a challenge. If you can't get into this position, that's fine. Stay with your clams or your side lying leg raises. I'm going to get Sol to scoop her legs back, pop her left elbow underneath her left shoulder, and she's going to come into a side plank position for a little bit of a challenge. So she's pushing down through her bottom knee. If I'm looking from the top, body's in one nice straight position and holding here. If you want an extra challenge, you can add your clam into this. Good. So holding for 6. Good. 5, or up and down, sorry. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. And slowly back down. So we'll do one more set here in this position. The side planks, I think, if you can get them right in the right position, are a fantastic exercise. You will feel definitely the bottom hip working as well as the top hip, and it's a nice bit of dynamic challenge for your trunk and your hips. Good. 2 more there. And 1. Lovely. So Sol's going to swing her head up the other end of the mat so we can stay facing the camera. And we'll even out on the other side. So we started with some side-lying hip abductions here. Sol's excited to even this up on the other side. Good. And remember, our key point here was staying stacked on top, trying to keep that line from your underarm to the top of your trousers really nice and long. Good. 2 more just like that. Good. And then we went into some pulses. So leg comes up, comes just behind you, and then little pulses up an inch, down an inch. Lovely. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice. And then into your bent knee position or your clams. Good. Staying stacked on top. Lovely. So all of these last side lying exercises are working our glute med muscle predominantly, which is super important for your single leg balance, super important for keeping your lower limb health, so even protecting your knee from little niggles, from being able to go up and down stairs. So it is something that we often target as physios, because we often see that these muscles on the side have gotten a little bit, perhaps a little bit lazy or a little bit switched off for one reason or another. So definitely a favorite of ours to try and work when we're working anything lower limb. Nice. And I think we're ready to come into our side plank. So for your side plank, legs come behind you, hips go forward a little bit more so that you're in one nice straight line. Good. Pushing down through your right knee there, Sol. And at the top, some clams if you want to add that in. Cool. So Sol's doing a really nice job of keeping her head supported in this position as well. It is a tricky one, so it may not be for everyone. I wanted to give you an option for a little bit of a challenge towards the end here. Good. And back down, and we're going to do one more set of 6 here. Lovely. So Sol's going to roll onto her back and a nice deserved glute stretch at the end of that. So again, if you are someone that's had any niggles on the side of your hip before, this glute stretch might be a little bit too intense. So my option there would be perhaps a little bit of trigger ball releasing, tennis ball. If you have one of those nice mean spiky balls, that may be a better option than coming into a deep stretch here. However, if you haven't had any issues, this can feel like a really lovely stretch on the back of the hip, especially if you've been sitting for a long time and after we get everything kind of firing. Good, so nice long stretch like the hamstring ones, looking for about 30-45 seconds. And if you want to do a few in a row here, if you want to swap and end up doing about 2 or 3 on each side, that is perfect. All right, so Sol's going to come into standing for us, and we're going to have a look at, again, one of our favorite exercises we mentioned earlier, some squats. So option here is to involve a band. Do you want to slip that onto both legs? Good. All right, so standing, feet shoulder width apart, nice and even weight between both feet. And Sol's going to sink down into a squat like she's trying to sit back into a chair. Good, and then pressing through her heels to come back to standing. Good. Lovely. So important for us to get some weight-bearing exercises. It is a bit of a jump coming from sitting to standing. If you feel a bit unsteady, what I normally do is pop a chair behind. So if you feel like you're going to lose balance at any time, you can just sit down. We tend to try and bias the hips in this so that we can get really nice activation of both the quads, the glutes, and the hamstrings in this position. 2 more. If you have any dumbbells at home, feel free to pop one onto your chest at this point for a little bit of a challenge. Good. And then a little rest after this rep. Good. We'll do the next set facing the camera so that everyone can see what's happening at knee level for Sol. Good, so when you're ready, sinking down into your squat. So Sol's doing a really good job keeping some pressure against that band so that we can get some nice activation through the back of her hips. Good, 3 more there. And last one. Good. So to finish, we're going to do what I call a crab walk. So we're actually going to let's keep the band on. So options here, band around knees or ankles. Ankles is slightly harder. We'll leave it up around the knees to show you what we're looking for here. Sol's going to start by sinking into a little squat so that she's soft at the hips and the knees. And again, she's sort of feeling some nice weight through her heels. She's going to take a step towards me, keeping that band tight, and then slowly bring her left foot back to the start position. So stepping out, stepping in, stepping out, stepping in. So throughout the whole side to side walk, good. And when you get to the end of the mat, back in the other direction. She's keeping that tension on the band and she's remaining in a small squat. This is a really nice little dynamic challenge for your lower limb control. 1 more back and forth there, Sol. If you want to make it a bit harder, like I said, band goes around the ankle. It's a longer lever for your glutes to work off. If you have an array of bands, you might find increasing the resistance there quite effective for you. It can be an exercise where sometimes you don't feel it straight away, but as soon as you do, it's a really good burn. Lovely, and into standing. Okay, we're all done. I hope that gave you a nice little burn through your legs, got everything warmed up for you. Feel free to have a nice stretch through your quads and hamstrings and as you finish, and we'll see you soon.